My favorite place in the world is at 23 degrees, 49 minutes, 58 seconds south, 30 degrees, 9 minutes, 48 seconds east. You're probably wondering what these are the coordinates for. This is a town called Tzaneen in the Mopani district located north of the Limpopo province here in South Africa. Why is this my favorite place, you might ask? I love a good fruit salad, and this place is known for its fruit industry as it is one of the major producers of avocado, papaya, and mangoes in the entire country. But my favorite place is in a bit of a crisis. In the last 20 years, it has experienced over 45 extreme weather hazards associated with rapidly changing climate in the form of hailstorms, floods, droughts, veld fires, and even secondary impacts from tropical cyclones off of the neighboring Mozambique. The impact of these hazards has been seen in agriculture through decreased crop production, animal disease, poor crop health, and land degradation. Now, climate change is a naturally occurring phenomenon that often balances out in nature. However, human activity has increased its impacts in both frequency and magnitude, and unfortunately, man cannot be saved by Mother Nature indefinitely, which is where my research comes in. Smallholder farmers in the Tzaneen area use methods that are inexpensive and efficient that have been passed down from generation to generation in order to combat and adapt to the impacts of extreme climatic conditions. Now, were you aware that you are able to store leftover seeds from your harvest in a little bit of firewood ash, and this allows you to keep the seeds for more than one season? The beauty about firewood ash is that it also acts as a pesticide. So over and above preserving the seeds for you to plow with again next season, it also keeps all the pests away in case you want to consume it at a later stage. As farmers residing in a hilly area, are you aware that you are able to plant your crops along the steeper gradient of the slope? This allows you to retain some of the water from flooding, and it reduces the risk of soil erosion. But the real beauty with this method is for farmers on flat-lying areas, because you can create your own contours. By piling up rocks found all over your farm and filling in the gaps with soils, you are able to create bumps or barriers that act as contours that will also help in terms of soil retention in the case of soil erosion. In the Tzaneen area, indigenous knowledge has proven to be helpful in the achievement of food security at a household level. So can you imagine the impact it would have if we're able to integrate this wonderful knowledge system into development of sustainable adaptation policies to help assist rural communities which are vulnerable to climate change hazards? Thank you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful talk. I was wondering, what is your opinion about organic farming? I mean, somehow this organic farming, they do not accept so much these scientific breakthroughs science bring for farming, right? And what's your opinion on that?
Absolutely. I think organic farming alone at a larger scale is not as sustainable. I think the idea behind indigenous knowledge as something to integrate into scientific knowledge, I believe that the two will marry and work well together. When you're working at household level, it's easier to apply organic farming and more indigenous-based methods. But when you're working at a larger scale, for example, if you're going to use biopesticides, how many insects and leftover leaves do you need to grind in order to fumigate an entire farm? So with respect to organic farming at a larger scale, I think that there's a question of sustainability. However, at household level, it is very much effective.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your talk, Letago. My question is around how we get those scientists working on the food system side and on the climate adaptation side to really take this Indigenous and local knowledge seriously? The examples you gave are really impressive, but how do we get them to respect these local solutions as part of what they also need to be advocating for?
I think it is already something that is growing. Looking at COP26, Indigenous knowledge is already something that is being thrown out there. There is a lot more recognition that is going into it. And I think as up-and-coming scientists that see the value of it, we are the ones that have that burden to say that this is something that can be looked into, this is something that has worked, because Indigenous knowledge has so much value. It wouldn't be knowledge if it wasn't effective. It wouldn't be Indigenous knowledge, it wouldn't be passed down for generations to generations if it did not have value. And so that is the starting point for that, to say that as up-and-coming scientists, we see the value in this. And like I've said, I've tried it out at a smaller scale, at household level with smallholder farmers. So then this is our chance to then expand it and write papers, put out research, and advocate for its inclusion.
Letago, thanks very much. It's fascinating. I wanted to talk about those small householders, and when you go to talk to them, how keen are they to share that information, and how aware are they that this could be game-changing?
I think they're very much aware of exactly what is going on. The one thing that people always ask me is, are farmers even aware that there is climate change? And I say a lot of farmers perceive climate change on two bases, temperature and rainfall. So they will tell you that rain does not fall in the season that it used to, or that temperatures are increasing at a rapid rate. And so they are very much as keen to find solutions to this as we are. So that makes it easier when approaching them to say, what changes have you noticed? And what are you doing about it? And how can I marry your knowledge with mine to better find sustainable methods? And it's been amazing because they're really open to saying, okay, this is what we know, because we're also including them. I think the beauty about science communication is the inclusion of the people, because once they understand what your research is, then they're not as intimidated by the science anymore. And that makes the collaboration that much easier.